Welcome back to Olivia's Mindful Gardens and Plants. So winter is approaching and we have some frosts here where I am in London. So I have to bring in my plants, my tender plants. Now I do this every year, but this year I've added to my collection, so there's just simply not enough room in the house. I could put them all in, but I'd have very little room for anything else. So I have decided to get all these plants ready. These are coming into the house. So I have some Tropicana Black Canna here. I have Canna Cleopatra. I have 2 pots of ginger. Now I've grown these since they were super tiny, so this is their first summer. They've grown really well, so I'd like to get them to flower next summer. So they're coming into the house, but I need to repot those. I've also have some Musabaziu here, of course, and I have some banana plant and Anseti. And then when I pan round to next to my pond, I've also got this Anseti as well that's got to come in. Now, because I have a lot more plants this year, I'm going to try a little experiment this year, and I'll show you what I've got in plan. So this is what I have planned this year. I have knocked up a small little greenhouse, and this is just some wood that I've ordered, really cheap as chips, nothing very expensive. And I have some bubble wrap. I've put this size together because I have some of the Musabaziu plants that I'm going to be storing here. It's double layered, so there's 2 layers of bubble wrap. Here we are, 2 layers, and all the way round. And it's also in a really lovely position in the garden where it has a little bit of shade and a bit of sun during the winter, so everything inside should be kept just a couple of degrees warmer than the outside. So I have a small canna here which is going in. Now this last year came into the house, so I'm going to take a chance this year and leave it outside. I've also got this canna, which is a similar variety to this one. That one's just a bit taller. I've also placed inside my begonia in here, and that's I've trimmed that all back from the flowers, so hopefully that will survive the winter. Okay, before they go in, this is a small Musabaziu. You can see I've got so many little plants here. I'll clean all the dead leaves off, neaten it up and pop it inside. Make sure to take all the little snails away. Okay, so I've also have here my colocasia. Again, this is normally in the house. I may change my mind and bring them in, but they didn't do very well in the house last year. They became quite damp with mould and mildew, so I'm not going to take it in, I don't think. So this is a Colocasia Black Coral, this one. And then I also have the Colocasia Hawaiian Punch. I'll tidy this up and then tuck it in at the back. So also going into my little greenhouse here is the elephant ears. So in the UK they typically die back and then come back in the spring. But if they the pot, for example, freezes over with the bulbs inside, there is a chance they may not come back. Now it's a pretty big pot, so I think I am going to take a chance this year and put those in the greenhouse. It is its first year. I've not grown these before and I absolutely love it. I just love the big leaves. Everything about it is really tropical. Also next to it is a canna lily, so this is a Xanthea. Again, new for me this year. I bought it at this height. You can just see the beautiful flower at the top. Again, I'm going to leave them outside for now, but I will put it in the greenhouse. It should die back again for winter, and then hopefully the bulb inside the pot will be fine and it will come back in the spring. So I'm going to be putting that in. And then last but not least, the Canna Petoria. So this canna was in the ground. Well, it was first in a pot, then I placed it in the ground, then I took it out of the ground and put it back in the pot. The slugs and snails were just absolutely loving the this canna. So I thought the only way to protect it is really, it's easier to protect in a pot. So I've placed it back in a pot, tidied it up, fresh new soil, and that's also going in the greenhouse for the winter. Now at the moment our temperatures are hovering probably at 2, 3, 4 degrees in the night or very early morning, so they should be okay for a bit longer. They're quite hardy up until about -5. So I will leave them outside, because the danger is you put them in a warm position and then things start growing again. And I don't really want to risk that happening either, because they'll use up a lot of energy. So I've just attempted to take out this ginger from a pot. Obviously I've been successful, here it is, but I had to break the pot. One thing that I must be mindful of in the future is when you buy slightly rounded pots, so that's where it's fatter in the middle, it's not going to get out, the fat bit won't get out the top bit without you really forcing it out, and then you run the risk of damaging these beautiful thick roots. So I did sacrifice the pot. It had to come away. It wasn't a special pot. In fact, it was starting to look quite horrible around the edges. So that's fine, not a problem. So I'm going to place this ginger in this more appropriate pot, and then this one will come into the house. Here we are. So I've just placed the ginger in the pot and I filled it up with lovely new compost. One thing to be mindful of when you're bringing your plants in the winter, naturally you should water it less, because winter time most plants go slightly dormant. But equally you don't want them to fully dry out, so it's a bit of a balancing act over the next couple of months, so from November right through to March. at the end of March you start increasing the water to encourage the growth, but you will see new growth, so you kind of need to be mindful of what your plants are asking you for. Yeah, let's get this in the house. Okay, and again, that pot was very similar to the last pot. That didn't give me pleasure at all. I don't like to sacrifice pots. I love pots, but I love the plant more than the pot. So I'll just tidy this up and select an appropriate pot for this one. Here we are, all done. I will of course water the pots in really well, let them dry out for the rest of the day, and then they'll be coming inside. So this Anisette here is probably 2 summers old. What I find amazing is that the amount of water it has inside, in between its leaves here, the old leaves. Most people will pull these out if they have them growing in the soil in the garden. They will pull them out, turn them upside down, cut all the leaves off, turn them upside down, and that's so all the water drains out, because over winter this could rot. But of course, because I'm bringing mine into the house, eventually it will either evaporate, or the plant will of course drink it. But I will not water this very often over the winter. There's no need. It's not growing, it's not really letting off new leaves. So just to quickly recap everything outside. So there's the greenhouse. I've placed lots of things inside. I will leave this open because we don't want it to get too warm, because it's still not to the minus at night yet. But these things tend to creep up on you, and you always need to be ready. So they're nice and cozy inside. These will remain outside for a little while. I will keep a very close eye on the weather to make sure it doesn't go below probably like 3 or 4 degrees at night. And if it does, I'll pop them in the greenhouse there. I also have some of the more tender varieties of fuchsia. I've potted them on, and they're going to go in the little greenhouse as well. Hopefully I'll have room for that. Okay, I bought all the plants that I really want to keep safe over winter inside now. The heating isn't on, so I need to make sure that it's not too hot inside. I've kept them away from radiators as much as I can. So there is quite a number of them now inside. What I might do is distribute the smaller ones around the house in different locations, only because it's quite a tight space, and by the end of February, March, you can't wait for them to go back outside. So it does get a bit difficult to live with all these plants inside the house. So we'll see how we get on. I do have some plants outside that I need to put into my makeshift greenhouse. I'm filming this particular segment of my video 1 week after the first video. I have placed an extra piece of plastic on this temporary greenhouse, and that is because when it rained, the bubble wrap on top was bowing inwards. So I've rectified that by getting some very, very thick plastic here. You will know, obviously, this is temporary. It is an experiment, so I'm hoping it will work. I've got a number of plants still waiting to go in because we haven't reached the minus yet. So I'm hoping it will last outside a bit longer. Another thing waiting to go into this greenhouse is the Salvia Amnestad. As you can see, it's still doing so well. We haven't had frost yet here in London, so I think it's doing well. I'm not going to cut this back yet because when I do store it in the temporary greenhouse, it will have to be cut back and then overwintered. But I think there's a number of bees still enjoying the Salvia. Another thing waiting to go into a sheltered position is the fuchsia. It's still doing beautifully and still giving me lots of new buds. I know what will happen. I'll have a deep frost at some point, and it will kill them all back a little bit. But last year and the year before, these have come back, but I had them in a sheltered position, so I'll just do the same thing again this year. So apart from my temporary greenhouse, I do have this shelving unit here. I've placed a cover on top, and I do have some more perspex here, and the thought was to place this perspex all the way round at some point, but I really don't think I'll have time to do that this year. But just having this little bit of shelter for some of the plants will see them through winter. So I'll probably place the fuchsias in here.